Our college tip-off series continues with a look at the women's teams in the area. And let me tell you, 3 schools, 3 extremely talented and 3 extremely talented teams with the potential to go a long way into March. So we're going to be talking about these women's teams for quite a while. This is not just a service to start the season. They're going to be a real deal. Sarah Holland, Kevin Holden, here in the CBS 17 Plus studios. Sarah, let's jump right in, and we'll start with Duke, just because Duke was the one team last year that got that close to the Final Four. Were it not for South Carolina and just a couple of shots in that game, Duke would have been a Final Four team. They would have gone to Tampa. And by the way, you weren't here at this point, but we were sweating that a little bit because Duke's men were headed to the Final Four already, and they haven't perfected cloning yet.
Right, yeah.
It's coming eventually, but it hasn't happened yet. So there's just one. There's one me and one Gibby.
Yeah,
and
be in 2 places at one time is a little tough.
So we didn't know exactly how we were going to handle that, but it didn't come to fruition, unfortunately, for Carol Lawson and the Duke squad that was in the Elite Eight. But Duke comes right back. Carol Lawson obviously has had experience coaching Olympic level teams and that sort of thing. She does not believe in the rebuild. She believes in the reload, and they have reloaded.
Yeah, exactly. Bringing back some starters, some new talent as well, and gosh, they are a very good team on paper, and I'm excited to see what they can do this season. And it's a tough early schedule for them.
Yeah, it's kind of unbelievable because there is such a thing as stacking your schedule with tough opponents to test, and then there's such a thing as just putting them through the rigors in the first month or two of the season, and that is exactly where this Duke team is. I mean, that list was crazy. Baylor is in there.
West Virginia, I got South Florida, South Carolina, LSU. I mean, and you think about, like, when you have a schedule like that, I played college softball, and I remember our non-conference schedule. Sometimes you'd get a team that maybe you'd beat 11-1, and then sometimes you'd have a team that would smoke you. I played LSU when I was in softball. I played at a small Division I, and when you get to face talent like that, I think it helps so much more. Especially prepare you for ACC play, right? For conference play. And I mean, it's I said this, talking about the UNC men's team, but it's going to expose, right, your weaknesses and your strengths. And what a better time to have it early in the season, right? When things don't necessarily matter at that time before you get into conference play.
You think that Sarah knows what she's talking about? Listen to Carol Lawson say almost this exact same thing about exposed. Check it out.
We want to be exposed, and we want to know what we need to work on, so that when we get into conference play, we have an idea. And I think that has built us into a mentally tough team, a resilient team. We've taken a lot of the lessons from losses we've had in non-conference the last couple of years, and I think it's been a big reason why we've been a second weekend team the last 2 Marches. So sometimes in the moment, it doesn't feel good, but I think we've grown a lot from the tough non-conference schedule. But this is definitely the toughest one that we've had since I've been at Duke.
And it's going to be, by the time they get to conference play, December, early January, they will absolutely be tested. There will be no reason for them not to, top to bottom, have been tested in that roster. And then, just down the road from them, you've got UNC and this Tar Heels team that they very easily could have been the team in the Elite Eight against South Carolina, except they were paired with Duke in the Sweet 16. I mean, that was a wild concept. Again, going back to March and how crazy that was, they met up in Birmingham, those two teams did. Duke and UNC is wild if they met up the street.
Right.
but the fact that they met in Birmingham in the Sweet 16 just, intensified that rivalry so much, and UNC learned from that, and they bring back 8 returning players. And with an interesting mix between their guards and their bigs.
Yeah, and I think looking back to last season and this season, they've also lost a lot of their offensive production too. So you get some returners in there, but then you also lose some really important key pieces that were able to translate offensively a lot for you last season. And you talk a little bit about maybe some of those experienced guards that are coming back, and I think can help you with your perimeter game and perimeter play. But yeah, definitely still some questions surrounding this team, I think, for the Tar Heels heading into this season, and kind of how they can get out on the court this year.
Yeah, and Courtney Banghart's been, at the program for several years. She's had a chance to build something strong there. They become a perennial contender. But they, like the other teams in the Triangle, they're in this constant fight. Like it's whether it's recruits, whether it's on the court, whether it's with fans or timing of games, they have to deal with this all the time. So the battle continues for them. But right now, as you mentioned, the big battle for Courtney Banghart is balancing this experienced guard group with bigs that are going to have to come along a little bit as the season goes on.
We do expect to have a different look. You don't lose two of the best post players the league has seen in a long time and try to replace them immediately in the same way. So we have some posts that need to step in to that opportunity, and they'll play the game a little bit differently. They can extend the floor a little bit more. They can allow us to play a little more spacing. And then we bring back a lot of experienced guards, talented guard play, as well as what we brought in both through the portal and in the freshman recruiting. So have a good guard group that has a lot of game pressure, whereas our inside game, we've got to use our non-conference, which you see we scheduled to put them to the test early so that we could get as much game pressure on our youth as we can as we prepare for the gauntlet of the ACC.
Interesting thing to me about the three women's teams in the Triangle is the three coaches are three very different human beings. Now, they're all just tremendous coaches, clearly, some of the top talent in the country, and they develop them year after year. Carol Lawson's intense. Playing for her would make me a little nervous, right? Because she's intense. Courtney Banghart's kind of the opposite. There's this sort of quiet like professionalism. Wes Moore, I want to go have lunch with.
Yeah.
Like, he's great.
He looked like a fun coach during ACC tip-off from everything that I got to see. I mean, they all look fun, but he looks like he's got a little character to him.
and NC State this past year beat Vermont by 20 in the first round of the NCAA, beat Michigan State by 34 in the second round, and then just barely got beat by LSU in the Sweet 16 of the tournament. So there was no step behind for NC State. They were just as much there as UNC or Duke last year. So you go to this year, some players are gone, a few players are gone. But the interesting thing about NC State, and I was trying to remember the last time this combination took place. You have a team that's one of the favorites to win in the conference without a single senior on the roster. They're doing this without a senior. That's wild.
That's unheard of to me because I don't. As much as we cover, I feel like so many sports in the country, and I can't know off the top of my head. I don't know if there's a team out there that doesn't have a senior. Obviously, it's hard for football because you got so many guys on the team, right? But I'm curious if there's other college basketball teams that have that and can also, not only do you not have seniors on the team, but you're able to be successful going into this year. Because a lot of people are really high on NC State, especially at ACC tip-off. I saw a lot of experts maybe taking them over a team like Duke. Without having a lot of seniors on your team, no seniors on your team, right? The stage is kind of wide open for underclassmen to kind of, go in there and take some big minutes apart. But yeah, it's a weird thing to, I'm sure, have to get used to, especially if you're a player on the team not having any seniors there.
Wes Moore at ACC Tip-Off kind of breaking down the roster, the fact that there's no senior experience on the roster, yet there is good experience from the guys, from the ladies who are not seniors.
First of all, having no seniors is not real exciting. The really good teams we've had have great senior leadership, and now we're dependent on some younger players to provide that leadership, with Zoe being a junior and having started and played quite a bit her first 2 years, and Zamaria, McDonald's All-American out of high school and had a great freshman year. So we're counting on these two heavily to provide some leadership. My priority was trying to maintain our roster, and for the most part we were able to do that, so I'm excited about it. And then we added a couple of freshmen, a couple of portal players. And we got a lot of things to be excited about, but we have a lot of questions to answer too.
And I think that's the case for not just in the Triangle, but across the board, that there are questions to answer still that you can't necessarily answer in a practice in September, or even in like preseason in October, or even those early non-conference games in November. I think when you're talking about who develops, who gets better over the course of the season, even after watching a lot of college basketball through the years, I don't know if I have an answer for that. These three teams are all in this race, and if someone takes a small step forward, it might kick them to the very front of those three teams.
Yeah, and I mean, again, we're so lucky that we get to cover three teams that are this good, and right now, just sitting ahead of the season, it's like, I would not be surprised if you said one of these teams is taking the cake over the other, right? That's how good each of them are, and so I think we're not going to know, right? And at the beginning of the non-conference schedule, preseason, whatever it is, it might take a little bit.
And the development is one thing that happens. Obviously, October into November into December, you get to conference play. You try to avoid injuries. You try to keep people healthy and keep them, strong and running down the stretch. And then you get an interesting little twist this year that we haven't had in a little while. Last year, this past March, the conference tournament was in Greensboro. And that's been a pretty common thing. It's in Duluth, Georgia this year. And, I mean, look, it's in one place, whatever that one place is. But that's not close to home, and that's something that none of these teams have been used to. When you put that tournament in Greensboro, then you've got Wake Forest plus the three triangle teams all very close to home. Now everybody's got to travel to Duluth, Georgia. So I don't know. Does Georgia Tech get a real advantage there? I mean, how does that work?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know where Duluth is. I have to go over and check. I'm not. My geography is maybe not that great for the state of Georgia, but yeah, you definitely don't have that home field advantage when you're in the state of North Carolina.
Yeah, it's a different feel to it. It's been tremendous to see the women's game evolve over the last. I mean, the evolution has been coming for a long time, but the true evolution to the current state of the game has happened over the last, let's say, 5 years or so, and I think it's been fun to watch, and it makes me wonder what happens next, right? Like this is we're in uncharted territory. It's certainly great to see. I love watching the crowds that come to these games now, and they cheer, and like it's a real deal. And you're talking about being blessed to cover these teams. That means that we got 6 of them to cover, because you got 3 men's teams and three women's teams. So it's basically whoever's in charge of cloning, let's get it going.
Right, because I wish I could be in every. I want to be at every single game.
Right.
Because that's how exciting it is, and I haven't got to witness a Duke Carolina game yet, so I'm looking forward to those this season.
Yeah, any of these rivalries are tremendous. And, on the men's side, obviously NC State has put themselves in the discussion. On the women's side, NC State has been in the discussion. Right. So that 3-way race is continuing, and it's going to be tremendous. What a basketball season ahead for all 3 of these Triangle women's teams. And we're going to dig a little deeper into them later in the year. We'll get back to it in February and go from there. Sarah Holland, Kevin Holden, we appreciate you watching our preview, Triangle women's teams here in the 2025-26 season. It is going to be an exciting year that will go deep into the month of March. Do not miss it.